Acrobutophobia. That's the fear of peanut butter getting stuck to the roof of your mouth. And although it may seem like a common occurrence, it affects hundreds and millions of people every single day. And this is just one type of phobia that people may have. But what is a phobia, and what causes these phobias to happen? And are there diagnoses and treatments for it? All that and more will be answered today as long as my glossophobia, fear of public speaking, doesn't act up too much. So what exactly is a phobia? WebMD best describes it as a unrational or overbearing fear of something that does not pose a danger to the person. Which basically means if it's something that is not really dangerous to you as a person, it could be a phobia, and it can be fixed if you go through the right steps. So there are 5 types of phobias according to the Mayo Clinic. And one of these is the natural environment phobia, which is a fear of outdoor weathers, tornadoes, just things like that could be in the environment. Next after that is an animal phobia, which is a fear of animals like spiders, snakes, rats. And the next type after that is blood injection, which would be a fear of needles being stuck into you, seeing blood. All those could fit under that category. And the 4th one is a situational phobia, which is when you're afraid of being on a bridge or in an elevator. Those things, those situations that you're in could be a phobia. And after that is just the other section, which is just all the strange ones you've heard of, like fear of clowns and lamps and things like that. According to the Anxiety and Depression Association of America, there are over 500 types of phobias. And these include things like agoraphobia, which is a fear of open spaces, arachnophobia. There's even something called decidophobia, which is a fear of people who are making decisions. So what causes these phobias? The Britannica Encyclopedia says that there are some ways that you could have a phobia be caused to you. One of these is a traumatic event that may happen. If you were mugged in an alley, you might never go into an alley again because of that one traumatic event. If your family member has a phobia, there's a chance you too will have that phobia. If your mom's afraid of one thing, you may be afraid of that thing also. If you were to have a panic attack in a certain situation, like in an elevator, you would be prone to avoid that elevator again because of the onset of another panic attack. And if you were to learn a bad thing about something, but it's not necessarily true, like for instance, you saw a story on an airplane crashing, and you decide to never go on an airplane again, even though statistically speaking, it's one of the safest forms of travel. But what are all the symptoms of a phobia? And one symptom would be if you're more afraid than other people, and if when something happened, that could be a phobia. If there's something that always makes you feel very uncomfortable in a situation, that type of phobia could be involved. If you ever feel yourself losing control or even fainting, these are all symptoms of different types of phobias. And if you ever wanted to get diagnosed to see if you have a phobia, you could go to your local doctor and he'll give you some type of physical exam or do something along those lines and ask you a few medical questions. And if you were an adult, he might ask you if you understand that these fears are just strange and overbearing and that they shouldn't have those fears. And if the adult knows that these fears are unreasonable, then it could be diagnosed as a phobia. And also, if they found themselves going out of the way every single day to avoid that certain situation, the doctor might also tell them it's a phobia. But it's also important to know the difference between day-to-day anxiety and a phobia. An example of a day-to-day anxiety is that you're just going out in your house one day and you're cleaning up the roof and you have to climb a ladder. That would just be, and you felt uncomfortable on the ladder, that'd be some type of anxiety that you face. But if you were to receive a promotion one day and you found out it's on the 30th floor of a building and you declined that promotion because you knew every single day you'd have to go up there, that would be classified as a phobia. So, are there ways to fix these? Yes, there's a lot of different treatments. Medline Plus, a trusted online resource center for these type of things, say that cognitive behavioral therapy is one of the treatments used. And this is when you do mental counseling and they tell you about all the negative thoughts you're having and try to make you think about those and then switch them whenever they come around. And Another one after that would be called exposure therapy. That's when you're afraid of snakes, and let's say that if you had the fear of snakes, they would come and they'd bring them into your room, and if you had that fear, then you would have to face it head on, and you'd work on it slowly. But if you thought that that was just too much for you, you might try systematic desensitization, which is a step-by-step process where you might find yourself visualizing your fear of snakes one day, and then the next day after that, you'd bring in a plastic snake, and you'd work with that until you felt comfortable with it. And then after that, you would try bringing in a snake, and they might say that it's a non-poisonous, it's very safe to be around, and slowly you'd make your way until you're comfortable around that situation. So those are a lot of things to learn about phobias today, and obviously you learn what exactly a phobia is, and the causes and symptoms, and even found effective treatments if you ever wanted to get, if you were ever diagnosed with it. So I think that phobias really affect people on a day-to-day basis, and I think that there's a way to beat it. And if you can really beat it mentally, then you could pretty much do whatever you want. So I'll leave you with one last thought. Sam Montgomery once said, "Don't let the fear of striking out keep you from playing the game."